Hey, hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Wellness Blueprints. I'm Jess Milner. I'm so glad you're here to nourish your roots with me. And today I want to talk a little bit about our beliefs and not even really the beliefs that you are consciously thinking of at any given time. Everybody has different kinds of beliefs that they hold. But there are beliefs that we have that are even deeper than that, that were programmed into us. And they really run the show. And we don't even realize that they're running the show. So several decades ago, I guess, I guess several decades ago now, the medical community decided that we had genes, and that genes were determining our biology, that they were the reason why people get sick. You see families are like, oh well, the family, you have this gene, and so lots of people get this type of cancer or this kind of autoimmune or what have you. And over the years, we've seen lots of people where, I remember working with when I was training in Florida for muscle testing when I was learning kinesiology. One of the instructors was talking about how she was the only one in her family that was not overweight, that had all of their organs still intact. Most of her sisters and other family members had lost their gallbladder or something like that. They all had metabolic disorders and this and that. And she didn't. She was a healthy weight. She was fit, healthy, worked as a practitioner. Trying to remember, she might have been a chiropractor. But nevertheless, she was very healthy and her family was not. And obviously, she would have the same genes. And so we began to realize that there's another factor here, okay? And that, so you have genes, and they start to think like, oh, well, genes can be turned on or turned off, and so the environment plays a role in that. And it's true. It is the environment playing a role in it. The genes can't really be switched on and off. Genes are more like a blueprint. And if you're drawing out a blueprint, this is how it was explained to me. If you're drawing out a blueprint and you're the architect sitting there and drawing out a blueprint, you're not going to say, hey, can you turn on that blueprint? You're like, what are you talking? So, the genes are there and the environment plays a huge role in this. So this isn't, you're probably like, whatever, Jess, this isn't new. But we had this whole like genetic determinism thing going on where people would go, okay, well, I have the gene for this, so it's likely that I'm going to have this. And the problem with this entire mentality, which was pretty much just kind of tossed at us, is that it puts you in a position of helplessness. It makes you a victim. There's nothing I can do about it. You can't do anything about genes. I can't do anything about it. I mean, that's just my fate. I'm going to have this illness. And you can kind of think of this, I mean, the same kind of thing can occur. For example, you go to the doctor and they run some labs and they do, fasting glucose, and they do your A1C and they look at the numbers and they go, "Oh my goodness, you are pre-diabetic. So, next time I see you, you'll probably be diabetic and then we'll put you on medication." They may or may not say like, like do something about diet or, change your lifestyle. I don't know. Some doctors do things like that now, and that's fantastic. But once you tell a person that they are pre something like that, pre-diabetic, it gets into their mind that that's where they're headed. And you often start to identify by this and you feel like, well, there's nothing I can do about it. I'm a victim. I'm hopeless. There's nothing I can do. This is I'm going to succumb to this. Same thing can be talked about with cancer diagnosis. I'm sure you've heard stories. People who go, okay, well, I'm just accepting that the oncologist said this. I have this amount of time to live. And then other people go and say, I'm just going to go out. I'm going to live my life. I'm not going to do things that way. I'm going to be happy while I'm still here. And next thing you know, they're like, well, where'd the cancer go? How come I'm still living 2 years later? And I didn't do all of these things. So, your belief really has a lot more bearing on your health than most people even give it any thought. And the thing is, it's not even just like, okay, you didn't believe hard enough and that's why you got diabetes even though you were trying hard not to when you were told you're pre-diabetic. I'm not talking about, it's not like, oh, you didn't, nobody wants to hear, oh, you didn't believe hard enough. You weren't grateful enough. You didn't pray hard enough. No, there are deep-seated beliefs that we all have that are ingrained into us and we don't even know that they're there. Okay. So, and this is keeping us in this like victim mindset. Now, I will mention there are, like gene disorders that people absolutely you're going to be sick, but that's like less than 2% of people, or some less than 5% at least. Like, there's not that many people who actually have some kind of a defect like that's going to be different. So, of course, I'm not talking about things like that. I'm talking about things that don't show up until much later, and they don't necessarily show up with everyone. This is something that I've been saying for many years. It's like, well, yeah, your family, you all have the same gene. So of course, there is this gene for this metabolic disorder or for this cancer or for this, but the families also live in the same house or very close to one another. They probably do a lot of the same types of activities. They probably eat and drink a lot of the same things. They might be using a lot of the same different kinds of products. They have the same kinds of lifestyles because families do things together. So you learn things together. This is what we do. This is what we eat. This is what we don't do. I mean, I grew up in a house where, there was a time where my mom did go to like jazzercise and stuff like that, but it wasn't ever really super consistent. So, I went through a lot of my life believing that I couldn't uh, commit to something like that and actually change my body. And it actually took a lot of work to be able to reprogram that entire belief. And, now I enjoy a workout, So there's lots of different ways on different levels, even that you can work to change these limiting beliefs. So basically, I mean, you have your subconscious mind is what's pretty much driving most of the time. And it can kind of go into like an autopilot thing, like if you've ever your mind wanders off and while you're driving, and next thing you know, you've reached your destination and you like have no idea how you got there. You don't remember driving. You're like, oh my gosh, how did I get here? I made all of these turns. That's your subconscious just, knew where to go. So your subconscious is basically, it's like a machine, and it's not good, it's not bad, but sometimes the programming that's in it is what is more considered to be good or bad. Okay. So you have this programming there, and it affects your perception on things. It affects your beliefs. Okay. And the interesting thing, they're talking about genes having so much effect on this. If we want to get sciencey about this, okay? Listen. So one gene, it's going to take signals from things. There's going to be signal that's what they're talking about with epigenetics. So there's different signals from your environment that are going to affect what the gene is going to do. And a single gene can like pop out over like 30,000 different proteins. And that's what we're made out of. We're made out of proteins. So each gene, even though like, okay, well, this family all has like this kind of gene, so you might possibly get this type of illness or chronic disease or something. But that gene can actually pop out so many different kinds of proteins. And one of the things that can signal that can trigger that is your beliefs. And so, we have this just like belief, these perceptions really just dug down underneath of us, and it keeps us stuck in situations. Sometimes it's just things like you might realize that your financial habits are the same as your parents, or maybe you or someone in your family or someone that you notice different things uh like mom had a baby when she was about 18, and then that baby had a baby around 18, and then again, like, you see the same types of patterns, and it's just on a subconscious level, because there wasn't anybody like going, oh well, I'm 18, it's time to go have a baby because that's when my mom had me. No, that's not even what's happening. It's just like those things just start to occur because these things get layered on there. when you're little. Okay. And they're supposed to get layered on there. I mean, we raise our kids, we're raised by our parents. There are things that are imprinted before you're even born. Believe me, I have released emotions and all different kinds of oh my gosh, even like miasms and stuff. I have released all kinds of things energetically on a frequency level that were lodged inside of a person before they ever, came through the birth canal. So there's all of these imprints that we're taking from all these different areas. If you've ever kind of like if you've gone on vacation somewhere and you and then like it's been like several decades and you haven't been back there and it's in a different country, and when you go back, you'll start like things start to come back to you. You start to remember things because things do imprint on you the first time that you hear about them, the first time that you know about what's going on. And even sometimes when you don't know what's going on, I mean, you're just there in this environment and these things are just kind of being tossed your way. And so this is true even when you're a little tiny baby, when you're still in mama's womb, and then as you're being raised. And then we don't realize, I mean, that's why, a lot of the time we end up sharing a lot of the same types of beliefs that our parents share. Maybe we have the same political or religious affiliations, or maybe we have none at all. Whatever, kinds of things were normal for you as a child are going to seem normal. And somebody else might be like, oh, dude, that's not normal, or we didn't do that. So, you make a belief that, if you have this belief like, oh, well, I saw that, all these people in my family were very sickly, and maybe you were sickly as a baby, and so rather than saying more positive things, nobody realized they were doing anything wrong, but they said, oh, the baby's very sick. There's all these things wrong with the baby, so there's all these things that are wrong. You've probably seen moms do things like that where they say, oh, what, there's all these things wrong, and then their child is ill a lot of the time, and so much of that is just from that imprinting going on there. So you have these beliefs underneath of you that are controlling like all the stuff that you're doing and saying, and it can even control your health. So, am I just saying like, oh, just believe you'll be well and you'll be well? Well, in a matter of speaking, yes, but is it that simple? Not exactly. Okay. Um, for some people, it absolutely can be, but it is a little bit deeper than that. There's going to be some work that you're going to need to do when you have these kinds of perceptions and everything. It's something that you really need to kind of dig down and uncover. Okay. Sometimes we don't even realize what they were. And I want to be clear, this doesn't mean that like, you were told all of these lies and, somebody was out to get you, because it's not like a victim kind of a thing. This isn't like, somebody set out to like give you all of these bad beliefs so that your life could be miserable. I mean, obviously, some of us do suffer abuse while we're growing up, and even in our adulthood and everything, and that can be um, a huge part of this as well. But uh, most of the time, hopefully, that's not the case, and so it's not like somebody did this to you on purpose or anything like that. But you can't rule out that whole belief, and this really goes into the whole, like placebo idea. I mean, that's kind of really recognized in the conventional medical world, because they'll run trials where they will give out the drug to these people, and they will give a placebo, a sugar pill to this group over here, and they won't tell anybody which is which. But the people in the placebo group, even who take the medicine, they take the sugar pill and they believe that it's going to help them, so then it does. And that happens quite a bit. So, the power of your mind, I mean, your mind is kind of like it's like bridging a gap, between, your beliefs and your reality. Okay? There's yeah, it's bridging a gap. I don't really know how else to say it. So, you have these deep-seated beliefs, and then you have your reality, and your mind is there in between. So, it's like, yeah, you change your mind, think in a different way, and you're going to be able to change all of these other things. And, I mean, just like with any other kind of healing, it is not linear. So, It's not like you can just kind of like wake up and go, well, I don't believe that anymore. And I mean, maybe you don't, but it's going to be a little bit deeper than that. Um, I used to have a program called Emotion Code through the chakras. And, the chakras really do have a lot to do with these kinds of things. There are, of course, different emotions that are connected to the chakras. Um, core traumas, which are like, the big emotions, the big negative emotions. There were different things like that, but all of these beliefs that go along with all the different chakras, and there are different organs that are connected to it, and even blood work. So I'm telling you, nobody reads blood work like me. So yeah, I mean, I can look at your blood work and be able to fill in gaps and figure out where we need to start in terms of things like chakras. And we don't even have to like mention the chakras necessarily. It's just they are a part of it because all of this is connected. So you have, your blood work, you have your physical health, you have your spiritual body, you have all of these beliefs, you have your conscious beliefs and your subconscious beliefs. All of these things are kind of making this person up, that you are. And so when we work on those kinds of beliefs, when we work on these different aspects of our spiritual health, then it's going to mirror in our physical health. So it does really truly start with a belief because, just like with anything, I mean, you could like just going back to the placebo, the sugar pill versus the actual drug in a trial. When you give a drug that is scientifically shown to have these certain effects inside of the body, so it will improve A, B, and C, uh there are people that you will give that drug to who do not believe that they can heal, and they'll say, well, I took it and I felt worse, or I took it and I didn't get better. It's not working for me, nothing works for me, because they just believe somewhere that they're just destined to be sick and nothing is going to help them. So it really does filter through all of this with these beliefs, and they're down there, they're under there. And like I said, there's no shame here. Nobody did anything wrong. We all have them. We all have them. And if you think about like, the way that your family is, the family members or people that you are closest to, you probably can notice some different patterns and things like that. And go, huh, I wonder why that is. Why do we all think that? These other people over here don't think that. Or maybe you see the difference. Well, this family member really believes this, and this one doesn't. And look at the difference between the two. Maybe their environments are completely different. And because of their environments, maybe it's less toxic of an environment, but is it just less toxic in a physical way? Or is it less toxic in an emotional way as well? Are they in a place where they are able to clear their mind better? Where they are able to work on these beliefs, where they're not just constantly inundated by stress and, just like more intimidated by it, even, just like knocked over. So I could talk about this all day. I really could. But a lot of this is coming from Dr. Bruce Lipton. I've been loving some of his teachings, so I do want to give him a shout out for some of the things that I'm talking about here. But you know we we often want to run out and gather up all of this knowledge on all of these different things, and that's great to have all of this knowledge on all of these different things, but the key is to understanding it as well. So understanding that not everybody is going to be exactly the same, yet we are the same, but we're not. We're the same but different. And I know that sounds totally crazy, but that's really how it is. So when you work with me, you're going to get both sides of this. If you want me to look at your blood work, if you're doing a blood work thing, awesome. We're going to look at it. And I'm going to give you some insights that I promise nobody else is going to give you. And if you don't want to look at blood work, if you just want to look at some other aspects, we can do that as well. And uh, going through and figuring out where everybody can start, because it's going to be different for each person for where you start, and the things that are going to kind of trigger your mind to dig into from a certain place. But we're all going to do the same thing, even though we're doing it differently, if that makes sense. So I just had to share some of this with you today because, it really does I just can kind of sit and like think about it, for hours and hours about how much of the things that we do and say and think and just do without thinking, what I mean? Like we do all of these things like knee jerk reactions, all of the stuff that happens really, really quickly. And that is just because of the programming that results in these patterns that we have in life. And you want to move away from those because we want to get out of this whole victim mindset. You don't want to be in victim. You don't want to be in scarcity. It's going to affect your health. It's going to affect your finances. It's going to affect your love life. It's going to affect your social life. It can affect you at work because when you have those kinds of things, you constantly think, I'm helpless. Something's out to get me. I'm feeling shame. I'm feeling anxiety. It is not safe to be here. It's not safe to be me. It's not safe for, like my nervous system is not safe. So even when you feel completely calm, your nervous system is like, we ain't calm, we mad, and we all blah, 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 up here. And you're wondering, you're like, why? How come when my aura ring says that I'm in an engaged and stressed out state right now, and I'm just laying on the couch and I'm doing absolutely nothing? Why is my nervous system freaking out when I feel calm? And that's where we go through. That's where we want to uncover because we want our nervous system to feel safe. It needs to feel safe. If our nervous system isn't feeling safe, then we're going to be in a constant state of fight or flight. Or maybe we're frozen. Maybe we're fawning, but we're going to be stuck. And your physical processes like digestion, resting, healing, those things can't happen. They can't happen when you're stressed. And it does really start with these beliefs. So I'm excited to have everybody hop on in. I've got a new program coming out soon. And so if you want to dig into this, step right up. You're going to have a grand time with me. In the meantime, go ahead and download my resource guide. You're going to go to jess.deeprootedwellnessid.com/resources. If you're having trouble, you can capitalize that R in resources. But go ahead and download that. Step on into my world. Please leave me a 5-star review here. Let me know what you think. What kind of things came up for you today? Like, is there, are there questions that you have? Does anything seem confusing? And that's okay. Okay, that's okay. It's not supposed to be the easiest thing in the world to understand because if it was, then we would all change these beliefs that are holding us back and limiting us so much in our lives. We'd change them like that. It'd be no problem, flash of a magic wand, you're all better. And yeah, it's not quite that easy. But it is easy and it's fun. So, if you want to get yourself so healed that you're healed on the inside and the outside, basically. That's what it is. You're healing the whole thing, mind, body, spirit. I'm your gal. I got the sauce. Okay. I will be back next week with another episode of Wellness Blueprints. Thank you so much for joining me today. Bye, guys. Love you.